friends, and welcome to Wellness Wednesday, where I give you tips, ideas, and encouragement on how you can live a love-fueled and healthy life. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ana Maria, and today I'm going to share with you what you can do when the world overwhelms you. Now, before I get started, I want to share that I am filming this now with a very, very heavy heart. I have been keeping up with what has been going on at the border with migrant families being torn apart from each other and have been completely, utterly devastated. It is such an atrocity, it is heartbreaking, it is saddening, it is outraging, and I'm sure that this is how many of you feel as well. And it's hard to not be affected by these things on an emotional and mental level. So that's why I want to take the time today to take a step back and also talk about ways that you can still show up in your life, keep moving forward, and still take action and feel like you are contributing to this situation as of now, but other situations as they arise as well. If you have any comments or questions throughout this video, I will get to those at the end, so hang tight. But I do want to just really encourage you to sit and watch through this whole video. So we are living in a day and age right now where we have such unlimited access to information, and it is coming to us at an increasingly rapid rate. And it's coming in through social media, through the TV, through radio, through podcasts, and even if we don't go out and seek it ourselves, it shows up on our doorstep. And while this can have really positive benefits of being in the know and being able to come together to support a cause that we care about, or to share information, or to just connect with others, it also has a negative side. And I think that we really need to be aware of how it affects us on a mental and emotional level, and we really need to figure out how we can just take care of ourselves through that. There is something that's called secondary trauma, and they have done studies on this in the past. And what secondary trauma is something that often shows up in people who work with people who have gone through traumatic events. So people like mental health practitioners, therapists, people like that who are hearing really traumatic stories day in and day out. They have found that a lot of times they experience symptoms of things like PTSD, or are almost having flashbacks of memories that aren't even their own. And I have a theory, obviously it's not validated, they haven't done studies on this, but at the rate that we're experiencing information and getting news reports on really traumatic, awful events, I do think that there is some version of this that can happen to us if we are not careful. We see horrific images all the time, horrific news links, and it's hard to not feel that in your heart and in your mind. And it can really get the better of you and prevent you from showing up in the world fully as you are supposed to, from showing up in your relationships, showing up for yourself, showing up in your career, and just moving forward. So it's really important to be aware of that. So I'm going to give you 5 things that you can do when the world overwhelms you. The first thing is to take action. There's a wonderful book out there that I highly recommend to anybody that's called The Body Keeps Score. I believe the author is Bessel van der Kolk. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But essentially, it's all about how the body stores trauma. So this means that trauma isn't only stored in our memories and how in our mind, but it's actually stored in our tissues and our cells. And a lot of the reason why it's retained there is this happens when we're not able to activate our fight or flight response, and it just stays there. And it happens when we're forced to be silent, or we're not able to move or take action. So one way to negate this from happening is to take action in your life. And I'm not talking about posting on social media, I'm talking about donating, I'm talking about volunteering, I'm talking about calling your representatives or emailing your representatives. Just do something that helps to move that sadness, that anger, that outrage out of your body and helps the situation get better. It all matters. And it doesn't all of these things have value, and you can always do something no matter where you are in life. If you don't have a lot of money to give, take 2 minutes to email your representatives. I have an amazing resource that I'll link or tell you where to go after this. You can call. If you have time on your hands, volunteer. It all really, really does matter. So take action. The second tip I have for you is to practice Tonglen and loving kindness meditation. These are 2 Buddhist practices that really allow you to ground yourself in love and ground yourself in clarity and compassion. And Tonglen is the practice of leaning into suffering and transforming suffering. So this is not about ignoring what's happening in the world or turning away and distracting yourself. It is about leaning in, opening up your heart to compassion, and opening up your heart to just love and the power of love. So how this works, and this one is the easiest to do. I do this all the time. You can do really long meditations on this, but the easiest format is to breathe in suffering. So if you see somebody or a situation, and maybe this is in person or maybe it's online, just breathe in that suffering, feel that pain, whatever you're witnessing or feeling, and exhale love and compassion. And this is a really, really powerful technique. And I know that maybe you're thinking, and I know this has been my response sometimes too, when people say, oh, well, meditate or pray or send love. Those aren't tangible things. They don't do anything. They don't cure the problem. They don't solve it. And you're right, it doesn't solve the problem. But what it allows you to do is to be clear-minded, to be open-hearted, to be compassionate, but not be bogged down by the negativity or the hurt or the pain, or to feel compassion fatigue. And it allows you to keep moving forward, which is what you want to do. The other practice I mentioned was called loving kindness meditation, which has a similar effect. And they have great guided meditations online for this that vary from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. And you can find some great guided meditations on this. And what this is you visualize one person who you love dearly, one person who is an acquaintance, maybe it's even somebody at the coffee shop or a classmate that you have maybe talked to once, and then lastly, somebody that you feel hostile towards or aggressive towards. And you just visualize sending them love, sending them light, wishing them happiness, and you visualize them sending you the same and receiving the same. And again, these practices just help ground yourself in compassion and love and allow you to move forward. The third practice I have for you is called Cultivating the Opposite. Again, this is a Buddhist practice. I'm not Buddhist, but they just have so much wisdom that I just have to share. And this idea is to find the opposite. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, but for instance, in this situation, if we're seeing so much negative news, going out of your way to find positive news. And I know that sounds like a paradox and it's almost laughable, but it does exist. So 2 sites that I really like to use, one is called KarmaTube, which is a really beautiful, wonderful, altruistic YouTube that shows videos of people who are making positive change in their neighborhoods, in their communities, in the world, in areas of social justice or any other topic, environmental rights and all of that stuff. And it's very uplifting. I also like the Daily Good that shares daily positive articles. You can get the article sent directly to your inbox every morning, and it's a great way to start the day. So things like that help cultivate the opposite. And again, this is not ignoring the suffering, right? This isn't distracting yourself. This is being aware that there are opposites everywhere you go. Where there's prison, where there's freedom, where there is sadness, there's happiness. And it's just allowing you to have a clearer perception of the world and what exists in the world. I think when we see horrible things like what's going on right now, or the shooting that happened a few months ago, it's so easy to just think, oh my God, the world is so terrible. It's so awful. Is it ever going to get better? Everything's horrible. I feel unsafe. I feel like there's so much hate, but there's also a lot of love, and there's also a lot of greatness going on, and there's a lot of people who are helping. So cultivate the opposite. Fourth tip I have for you is to take a social media and media detox. Be mindful of what you ingest and how it is affecting you. If you go on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and you feel just depleted afterwards, that is a sign that you need to take a break. I have noticed that when something horrible happens or controversial, and it's been especially happening the last few years, people tend to recycle information. And I only see about 1% of what's being posted being new information or being helpful, actionable information. And the rest is recycled, and I like to look at this metaphorically. So I'm in Santiago, Chile right now, for instance, and where Santiago is located is in the middle of in the Andes. And in the winter, especially when it gets polluted, it just stays here. It stays in this valley and has nowhere to go. It has no fresh air, no way to leave. And I kind of see that happening in social media. There's a lot of pollution there that is stagnant, and it has nowhere to go. It doesn't have any fresh air to escape, and it can feel very suffocating. So take a break. I think this is one of the healthiest things you can do. Try going for 24 hours. If not, at least turn off your phone or turn off notifications overnight while you can get some restful sleep. Try to take a 24-hour detox once a month. Find what works for you, but I guarantee you will find it beneficial for your psyche and your emotional well-being, and be very clear-headed and more mindful in moving forward. The last tip I have for you is to keep perspective. I know that this is the hardest one to do because everything feels so urgent and immediate, and I don't want to give the impression that I don't think certain situations are urgent. They are, but I do think it's important to keep perspective so that we can keep moving forward. That is the key, to keep moving forward, to not get stagnant, to not get bogged down, to not get cynical, to not get compassion fatigue. So keep perspective. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And this is something that I often repeat in my mind and in my heart when I'm feeling just really saddened by the world and what's happening, or a situation that's happening, like what's happening on the border. And it's really important to keep in mind that we have made tremendous strides forward as a humanity and in the world towards justice, towards human rights, towards positivity. And the line and the path is not linear. We do take setbacks, but it does bend towards justice. So I find it really, really helpful also to look at who has come before us. Who are the great teachers who have endured great suffering and yet still have overcome and have given back to the world in a great way. Some of my favorites include the Dalai Lama or Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Two people who have gone through tremendous pain. The Dalai Lama who doesn't even have his country anymore and has seen his people suffering and yet had to take on this position as a leader of peace and joy and happiness. Or Archbishop Desmond Tutu who witnessed so many of his brothers and sisters being slaughtered and massacred through apartheid, and yet he helped overcome that and end apartheid. How beautiful and incredible is that? So suffering has happened. Suffering will always happen, unfortunately. But we can get better, and we will get better. We do have to come together and take action and keep moving forward and keep showing up in our lives, but keep perspective. Maybe some of the things that we want to happen will not happen in our lifetime, but we have to make it better for the generations that come after us and to pass the baton so that it does get easier and easier each and every time. So take a step back and keep perspective and keep faith, keep hope, and keep marching forward. Keep showing up for yourself. Take care of yourself as well. Set aside time for self-care. So again, don't ignore what's going on, but also remember to be mindful of how it's affecting you and do anything you can to move that negativity, move that sadness, move that anger, move that outrage out of your body and towards positivity, towards a better outcome. I am going to add the link. The link is in my bio in Instagram. I believe I put it under Take Care of Yourself, Take Care of the World. I wrote a blog post about this specific topic when the school shooting happened a few months ago. And I have some great resources, including an email site that you can use to email your representatives really quickly for 2 minutes. I have guided meditations that are linked there of what I talked about, the sites I talked about for Cultivating the Opposite. So please check that out, bookmark it if you want to. And in Facebook, I'll add it at the end of this post. Ooh, the sun is shining really nicely in here. Wow. And, you know, if you are wanting more positivity in your life and you want to cultivate the opposite, I really invite you and encourage you to sign up for my email list and for my newsletter. I send an email out about once a week, plus this Wellness Wednesday once a week, just giving you uplifting content and positivity. So go ahead and sign up for that. The link is also in my bio or on Facebook. I'll add it to this post. And again, just to refresh, in order to take care of yourself when the world overwhelms you, be sure to take action. Move that trauma out of your body, move that anger out of your body. Practice Tonglen and loving kindness meditation to get grounded in yourself, in love and compassion, so that you can keep contributing to the world and showing up as you are meant to. And third, cultivate the opposite and look at positive news as much as you see negative news. Take a social media and media detox to refresh your brain, reboot your body, reboot your emotions. And lastly, keep perspective. I'm really, really appreciative for you joining me today on Wellness Wednesday, and just keep showing up in the world. Remember that there is also so much value in what you have to offer uniquely. If you're a teacher, keep teaching. If you're a student, keep learning. Education is one of the most powerful tools in moving our world forward. Just show up for your family, show up for yourself. It all matters. Don't lose hope, don't lose faith. And we can do this, you guys. We can keep moving forward. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you next week. Ciao.